All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. Now we're going to talk about the MMA community suddenly being filled with analysts who want to go to war. They want to talk trash. They want to cut promos on each other. Now, I like this new environment. Let's talk about who we're talking about though. Okay, so first of all, Dan Hardy said some very inflammatory things about Tyron Woodley. Okay, now I watched that and was like, where is this coming from? This feels incredibly out of character. Okay, we're going to talk about that. I want to talk about Ariel Helwani because there's a version 2 of Helwani, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of this new Ariel Helwani because this guy, he wants to talk trash. He wants to make people earn the right to talk about him. We'll talk about him too. But overall, I've always thought that this is a good angle. I've said this on the channel a million times. I was like, dude, when I was thinking about how I could break into this thing, I figured like, I'll just try to create a beef with one of these analysts. Like it seems like a smart thing to do given the nature of the viewer base. But anyway, we'll get into all that. But before I do, if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. Tell your friends. Also, if you don't follow Jesse on Everything, I highly suggest you check that channel out. It's actually the channel I think I put better content on. So if you like the content here, that's much better. I'm much more serious over there. But anyway, give it a run. So here's the deal. One big thing about that. So I did a video the other day about Stephan Bonner and the incident at the hospital. And I talked about opioid addiction, etc. And I opened my inbox to anybody who wants to discuss their experience there, if they want help, etc. And I talked about ways that I can kind of point them in the right direction. And I got so many responses in my email that it was staggering. And I apologize if I didn't get back to you guys, but what I'm going to do, because I literally couldn't get back to everyone, I'm going to go live on Jesse on Everything on Friday at 3 o'clock Central. So if you go to Jesse on Everything, you'll see it there waiting. You can just click on it so you get reminded, whatever. But I'm going to go on. I'm going to talk to everybody there. So if I didn't respond to you, I promise it's unintentional. I got a million messages. But anyway, so we'll talk about that there. Anyway, so back to analysts who want to talk trash, son. So Dan Hardy came out and I was watching this thing. He's like, Tyron Woodley looked like an embarrassing piece of shit out there. And I was like, what? And like, here's the thing. I actually spoke to Dan Hardy on Clubhouse. Like he joined a Clubhouse group that I was in, and I was in like kind of like a small group of the speakers up there. And we wrapped out and I was like, this guy is a gentleman. Like this guy really is a gentleman. There were people like asking him questions, and I asked him when that whole thing happened with Herb Dean, you know, when he jumped up and, you know, because he thought that Herb had done the late stoppage and he jumped up and yelled at him. You know, my question wasn't about the incident itself. I asked him what it felt like when he was getting dogpiled online like that, because, you know, I got to figure like in a burst of passion like that, right? Where you explode because you're trying to protect someone that you care about, and then you're getting hammered online. Like, it's hard not to take it personal when you're just like, you just make some stupid video like I'm making right now, and then people in the comments run their mouth. You know, they're like, God, this channel sucks. This is a fight. Like we're talking about fights, man. Anybody who's interested in this topic is wired for combat. People are like just imagine you're like walking down the street and someone comes up to you. They're like, hey bro, 100% serious? Your face is fucked and I hate your shirt. You're like, you know, I would imagine most of you, your default would be like, is that right? Say it again. You know, I mean, like, it's just the community. This is who we are. If you like this sport, probably don't like people running their mouth in your face. And the comments don't feel that much different. So if you're getting shit like that from people for a situation you actually cared about, like you exploded, because I just was really curious. I'm like, dude, how did that feel? And anyway, I thought his answers were eloquent, and he was really polite, and he was super cool. So when I saw this stuff about Tyron, I was like, Jesus. He basically said, he's like, Tyron Woodley's career is over. His MMA community. Jesus. MMA career is over. His rap career is going nowhere. He's got a YouTuber in front of him, and he embarrasses himself like that. He didn't put himself out there. He looked like an embarrassing piece of shit and validated everything I thought was going to happen.
If he fancies it as well, he looked like a sack of shit the other week. That was very embarrassing. I think Jake Paul's not very good. And I think he did what he could to minimize the damage that he would take from Woodley in the early rounds, and then played a smart game throughout the later rounds. And I think he knew that was the way to beat Woodley, which is why he accepted the fight. And I think Tyron Woodley was being himself. You know, how many fights have the fans been booing in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round? He hangs back, he waits because he's got 10 punches in his pocket, and if he throws any more than that, he's blowing out of his arse. He was always going to be gun shy because he's more afraid of getting tired and getting embarrassed by a YouTuber. And the reason I'm annoyed about it is because he validated exactly what I thought was going to happen.
Paraphrasing, but that's pretty much exactly what he said. And I was like, God damn, that was mean. Like, that's just straight up mean. Like, Tyron, you think Tyron doesn't know he lost to Jake Paul? Well, I mean, or obviously there's a, I guess in Tyron's mind, it's a, controversial decision. I personally think he lost, but only because he didn't throw enough punches. Tyron is obviously a better boxer than you know, Jake Paul. He's obviously a much better. I mean, the fight as a fighter, it's not even a comparable conversation. I think he's a better boxer. I just think he didn't throw enough punches. Simple. If he would have thrown more punches, he would have won for sure, in my opinion. But he didn't, and thus he lost. So, you know. But anyway, I just didn't understand why Dan Hardy would say a thing like that. It's like, why are you taking it so personal, dude? But then in a subsequent, you know, conversation, or at least, you know, I don't, it might have been part of the same interview, but I saw it in a separate thing. They were asking Dan about what his fight career looks like, because he had to stop, you know, he had to stop fighting in 2012 because he had a heart condition, which has subsequently been fixed or gotten to a better state where he could fight. And so he's looking for a fight. And so they were like, you know, who do you think that you could fight? Because he's got a bad relationship with the UFC now. Because, again, he's clearly like a volatile guy, but he seems like a classy dude to me. I don't know. Getting in a bad situation with the UFC is a really poor career decision for anybody in the MMA community. Like, it's just, they just control so much of the market. That's why you're going to see people like Brett Okamoto, Chael Sonnen, fill in the blank with anyone who gets a paycheck from ESPN. They are going to be very favorable to the organization intelligently. Like, you know, I mean, that should be a prerequisite for anyone that UFC is going to point towards and be like, put that guy on. It's like, is this a guy that's loyal, that's going to, you know, stick to the party line? Because a lot of what the UFC is doing has to do with what kind of information they put outwardly and what the narrative is. So, and by the way, I'm the king of propaganda, son. You put me on and you have you're not gonna have to worry about my loyalty, son. But anyway, so in that later part of the interview, or in another interview, he's talking about who he wants to fight because now he can fight, and he goes, I'd box Tyron Woodley. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that explains the personality transplant then, because now he's playing fight game. He's doing smart things, right? But let's also talk about Ariel Helwani, because new Helwani, this guy he wants to bang. He's hilarious, dude. He's cutting promos on Schaub and Rogan. He's legit mad. Now, a few things about that. Number one, Ariel Helwani, who's angry and talks trash online, way more entertaining. I like this guy. Now, Ariel may not even realize this, but he and I know each other. But he knows me under my actual name, where we have exchanged many, many, many emails. I'm not sure if he even realizes that I'm Jesse on Fire, but who knows if he even knows who Jesse on Fire is. Would seem pretty unlikely that he wouldn't, given that I've, you know, creeping up on 6 million views here or whatnot. So I would imagine he probably has seen a video of mine. But either way, even if he doesn't, he's always been, the reason I bring it up is he's always been a gentleman. Like, he's always been super, super, super nice to me in email. Like, again, I was talking to him before I even started the channel, and he was always very responsive, super polite. He never big leagued me at all. I fucking hate when people big league you, man. That's why I never do that shit. I never. Dude, ask anybody who's ever emailed me. You're going to, at least 85% of the people who have ever emailed me have gotten a response, because I hate when people big league people, man. But Ariel has always been incredibly responsive and super polite and super fucking cool. So he gets nothing but, you know, as a person, I give him praise. And the thing is, what Schaub said that really pissed him off was Schaub said that he had heard a bunch of stuff about Ariel being hard to work with, like as a teammate. I find that hard to believe. I actually did see another interview with someone else, like on True Gordy yesterday, and they were like, and it was some other guy that kind of inferred, you know, or implied that he had also heard that Ariel was hard to work with. I still don't believe it. I just don't believe it, dude. Like, I don't believe it. Ariel's like, just look at the guy. He's like I don't know. he seems like a very nice guy, and my interactions with him have been super nice. So I can't imagine that he's like some fucking diva to work with when he's on set. I just don't really believe it. But if he is, then, you know, whatever. But either way, the Ariel that's calling people out, hey, Schaub, you text messaged me to apologize about that? Let's hear it on your fucking show, pal. Let's hear that on your show. That's real nice of you that you shot me a little DM that no one else saw. You want me to screenshot it? You want me to fucking screenshot it, put your name next to it? Or, you know, cut out a little picture of your face, put it next to your text message and show the world? Or are you going to come out like a man and tell everybody that you apologize because you didn't really hear that and you made shit up? The other thing is, Ariel crushed it at the Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley fight. Crushed it. Fucking crushed it. That I will say straight up. Now, if Ariel wants to create a beef, like if he's looking for somebody, he wants to do it Ariel Helwani, and he's looking for a guy to fucking do it with. In case anybody has never watched this portion of my channel when I, you know, kind of engage in things like that, I was born for the conflict, my friend, and I can just crank it out. So if you're looking for a dance partner, you know, a Colby and Masvidal type thing, or you know what? Not that their beef's not real, but like in, you know. Let's just say hypothetically their beef wasn't real. I can be your Masvidal, Helwani. We can do this all day long. But, or anybody else, dude. Anybody else. You got an up and coming channel, you want to fucking create a beef? I'm in, dude. I'm fucking in. And I will convince everybody that it's real, you know? Yeah, I know I said that, I wanted to create a fake beef, but this fucking guy, look at the shit he said. How am I supposed to not respond to that? Okay? You think I would fucking get in cahoots with this dumb fuck? Look at his face. Fuck that guy. Anyway, but this shit's just more interesting when people fight with each other, I think. I think for sure it's more interesting. Now, behind the scenes, do you guys really think that all these guys really have beef? It's like, you know, Jake Paul says, fuck Masvidal. Masvidal goes, oh, I guess you're not going to call me anymore. Now, maybe that stuff's real. Maybe. But it wouldn't be that hard to make it seem like it was real if it's not. And like, I mean, look, anytime I see anyone do anything in this business that brings attention to them, you have to at least acknowledge, like, well, this is benefiting them, so, you know, maybe they're doing it on purpose. Like Dan Hardy called Tyron Woodley a piece of shit, and you're like, damn. And then, you know, a day later, he's like, but yeah, I would love to fight Tyron Woodley. You're like, oh, okay. So put the dots together. Anytime there's conflict, it helps people. Sean Strickland almost gets in a fight with, oh my God, the submission grappling guy, who's actually a total fucking savage. He almost gets in a fight with him. And then how many people like learned who Sean Strickland was because of that fucking video? And then now Strickland is on the map. He wins a fight after that. He's on the, like, these things are good for your career. Why would it be any different for analysts? You know what I mean? I mean, geez, especially if you can be clever and funny, you know? Especially if you can be clever and funny. I'll tell you who I'm not going to do the beef with is Bisping. He's too clever, dude. He might actually get under my skin, and I really like him, you know? Not that he'd want to be my dance partner. I'm too good looking. It would be too hard for him to talk trash without just being like, God, this fucker. That makes me want to tell him to suck my dick. Ah! Just kidding. If you haven't seen my last video, that would sound real fucking weird. Anyway, I've been talking long enough. So, beef in the MMA community is super fun. This feels like a super worthless video, but I'm going to post it anyway because I'll do other videos later. Anyway, if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. Peace.